right, tomorrow's leaders, welcome to the show. I am here with another great guest. As you heard, I'm here with Dr. Kent Ingle, who is the president of Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. He is also an author of several books and a successful podcast host, podcast called Framework Leadership. Kent, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be with you, John. Look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. And you have such a really interesting background, and I'm always interested in people's journeys and how they got to where they are. I know you started in a much different place than you are now. So take the audience through that. Where'd you start? How'd you get to what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Well, I go back to my high school days. When I graduated high school in Bakersfield, California, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I did have several passions that, and I was taught early on, had a great mentor in high school who said, if you follow your passion, if you understand and you're self-aware of gifts, talents, and start pursuing that, then opportunity will open up. And that's exactly what happened. So when I graduated high school, didn't know what I wanted to go into per se, or even what college I wanted to attend. So I thought the best thing is to start pursuing passion. I loved communication and I loved working with people. And so I went to the local community college and started taking classes. I took two classes that were of great interest to me. One was broadcast writing and another one was broadcast speaking. And because those are passions. I love that. I've always been a big sports fan, and so what was so wonderful is the professor happened to be the news director at the local NBC station there in Bakersfield. So I got a chance to get to know him, and he could start seeing my work. And he approached me one day, and he said, "Hey, I like what I see. I like your enthusiasm and your love for broadcasting." And he said, "How would you like to come down to the station and start working as an intern?" I didn't have to think very hard for that one. And I said, "Sure, let's do it." So I went down. He said, "What would you like to learn?" And I said, "Well, I love sports, so if you could help me with that." And so he assigned me to the television sports anchor. If you know anything about the broadcast industry, it's market size. And Bakersfield was about a market of 275. I mean, you got New York, number one, LA, two, so forth. But this 270. So in a market that size, you're going to learn everything. And that anchor taught me how to write, how to produce a show, how to interview. I mean, I learned it all. And he got a job about 4 months into that internship. When he left, I'm just 18 years old, but 18-year-olds, they think they got a lot going, and I went into that news director and I said, "Hey, I think I can do this job. Would you give me a chance?" And he said, "Well, Ken, I know who you are, and I've had you in class. You know what?" He smiled. He goes, "I tell you what, I'll give you an opportunity to produce a show right on the set, and we'll see." So I did, produced a show. He hired me on the spot, and I started anchoring sports at the local NBC station at the age of 18 and continued in that career for 10 years, finally ending up in Los Angeles at the number 2 market, covering all those great sports teams, the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Kings, all of that. And it was just an incredible journey, and it fulfilled, a passion, deep passion of mine. And that's one thing I've learned in leadership. You want to be passionate about what you do because that makes all the difference in the way that you lead, encourage, and empower people. So wow. I love that career.
That's amazing. That's like the dream job, and what a cool way to get into that. It's such a young age. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you were there. It was
a great opportunity.
You were in LA. I know I read your background and all the incredible athletes the icons that you've gotten a chance to meet and talk to, from Michael Jordan to Pete Rose and everybody in between. What
right.
So what took you from that into your next chapter?
Well, I always believe there are catalytic events in your life, things that happen that begin to change your focus or, give you a new sense of passion. And that's why it's so important for self-awareness, that you're always aware of, right now, what are your gift sets, your skills, your passion, those things, because if you follow that, it begins to lead you to opportunities, especially career opportunities. And through a catalytic event that took place, a personal event that took place in my life, I felt this leading and calling to go into ministry leadership. And again, I love working with people. Always was involved in the local church that I attended and in serving and so forth. So I just felt this calling, if you will, to go into that area. So put together a team, and we went into a Northwest Los Angeles community and literally started a brand new church, planted a church that would really meet the issues, the needs, the values of that particular local community. And for the next 10 years, I had the privilege to be the lead pastor at this church in Northwest Los Angeles. And again, another whole unique journey, but something that I was deeply passionate about. One of my favorite writers, his name is Frederick Buechner, and he wrote this, and I've always applied this to my life. He said, "The place where you're called is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." And everything that I've ever done in my life, whether it's now as a university president, I always have this deep gladness that I can connect with the need or issues or the people that I have the privilege to serve, to make an impact. And it's an incredible thing. So for the next 10 years, did that in ministry leadership. And then following that, was called by a university asking if I would come and serve as an academic dean at their university and be a dean of their College of Theology and Ministry. Again, a lot of the things that I was able to do as a lead pastor, they wanted to develop that in a curricular way at Northwest University in Seattle, Washington. And for the next 6 years started my career in education.
That's amazing. I want to talk about leadership as it pertains and adaptability as it pertains to getting into different unique situations. Going from ministry leadership to education and academia, what were the biggest differences? I mean, what did you realize was needed in one versus the other?
Yeah, well, they're unique, but they both accomplish the same thing. It's all about how to shape a person's life, shape in a way that will produce good, that will produce health, that will produce opportunity. Whether that was in the local church, helping people with, spiritual formation or holistic growth and health in their life. It's the same on an educational level. You're helping them kind of focus on what is going to help them to be a good steward in what they believe they're called in. So if they want to go into the business world, you want to be the best business person you can be. And so to do that, you're going to need education. You're going to need to learn. You're going to need to grow and adapt. And so in all those contexts, you have that common thread, even though they may focus on different aspects of providing what you need in your life to accomplish your purpose or to accomplish your mission.
When you think about leaders that sometimes struggle with adapting to change and different circumstances, what are what's the advice that you give to those types of leaders? I know you got some that are listening that are really tuned into this topic.
Sure. I think the most important thing is to always approach your own personal life through self-awareness, self-management, and also the opportunities that come your way, whether it's an official leadership role or you just have the privilege to get involved in something where you serve and you work with people. It's all about a mindset of growth, a mindset of health, a mindset of how do I lead myself, and how do I lead an organization in a way that's going to make an impact, that's going to be transformational, that's going to be something that helps in a context or helps a people group, whatever that might be. It's like we tell all of our students here, don't lose the perspective that the bottom line, you're getting education so you can become a solution to an issue, to a problem, to a people group. And if you approach your life in that way, that I want to be a good steward and I want to be able to be growing and healthy. In fact, something I say when I have a chance to talk to a lot of leaders, a question that leaders should always ask themselves: how do I build a map to a place that I've never been before? Because if you're going to lead an organization, if you're going to lead people, if you're going to even lead yourself, you're going to be going places that you've never been. So you have to develop a mindset that I'm building a roadmap. This is a journey to get to destinations where I will be effective in making a difference in that situation, where I can be a solution to the issue or to the challenge or to the people group.
Which is really tough because, I agree 100% that mindset of growth means stepping into new opportunities, doing things that are uncomfortable because you haven't done them before,
Right.
you haven't had success in it before. So when you say building that map to a place that you haven't been before, that's scary. There's a lot of unknowns there. And I think a lot of leaders struggle with that. Hey, I feel like the only way I can be a really great leader is have a lot of confidence around knowing where I'm taking people. And so maybe you could speak to that. Like, how do you balance,
So what I do is I use a system. We call it, and it's what my podcast is about, framework leadership. I use a framework, and basically a framework is what gives the leader somewhat of a map of the unknown. It provides a structure. It provides a rationale. It provides a method for moving an organization forward. And I have just 4 simple steps that I use in this framing process. And I've used this in every context that I've had the privilege to lead and serve. Even in sports television, I started doing things even in my little sportscast that would air, at 6 and 11 at night, that a lot of others didn't do. But what I did was I used a framing process to learn, to discover, so I could develop and I could create and I could design and I could bring solutions. So it's just simply 4 steps. And the first step is that in every circumstance and situation, I come in and listen. I try to listen to everyone involved in the organization, everyone involved. And there's something about, in fact, I think it's Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, and I love this principle. He said, you can never know the potential of an organization until you know the potential of the people. So if you take time in the unknown as you start to build the map, get to know the people. Get to know what their gifts are, their talents, what are they passionate about. That's what will set an organization apart, by the way. The people that serve that organization will make that organization unique. So I remember coming to Southeastern, we inherited a university that had 2 years without a president. Anytime you go, an organization has no leadership for that long, you're going to suffer. They had gone into major decline, lost several hundred students, and that translated to a lot of financial income and so forth. So we had to begin leading change pretty quickly. And I remember the first thing I did was to create and empower the largest listening groups the university had ever accomplished. And we had constituency groups from all over, from students to faculty to staff to donors to community leaders. And we used the appreciative inquiry approach, which is, I love that approach. A lot of leaders want to start with what's wrong with an organization. No, the best way is what's right with it. If you could dream, if you could appreciate or dream, what would this organization look like 5 years, 10 years down the road if you could change it? What would that be? There's something about that unlocks the imagination, unlocks, the drive in people. And you'll discover that people have these amazing visions for what could be, and you can start developing that. By listening, we started to formulate the map that would help us to start producing growth. So that's the first thing. The second thing is simply auditing the context. And basically what that is, you can't really effectively lead without a thorough understanding of what's going on in your culture, in your context. So do everything you can. What are the financial issues, the challenges, the competition, all the things that are important to help you know how to navigate. So auditing the context is important. Then the third step is clarifying the goal. And that's where you take what you've listened, what you've discovered in context, and now you translate it in a way, in a feedback communication loop with your people, where you tell them and you translate it in a way they can understand it, and you get constant feedback so that you can begin to be on the same page together, and you can know where to put people in the organization and how to move this thing forward. And so that's actually one of my favorite processes, where you begin to articulate and communicate back and forth. And the way I illustrate that is, I remember I had been here about 8 months or so on the job, and I was walking the campus grounds and came upon one of our groundskeepers. And we have a beautiful campus here. It's like living in resort life here in Central Florida, and they take good care of it. And I walked up to him and I introduced myself and I said, I'd like to, know what you do. And I was expecting him to tell me exactly what he did working on the grounds. But here's what he said back to me. He articulated our brand new mission statement that our community had. He said, I'll tell you what I'm here to do. I'm here to help students discover their design so they can serve. He repeated the vision, and I'm thinking to myself, that's it. He understands. We all start to understand we're in this together. No matter what role, whether you're the president or you're a groundskeeper, you still are involved in the same mission and vision of that organization. And then the final step is simply aligning the vision. Everybody is in place, and you just operate. The map is there, and it's seamless. And I kind of equate that to when I covered one of my favorite teams to cover in LA was the Showtime Lakers with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Coach Riley was the coach Pat Riley back then. But I would go to their practices, and I'm going to tell you, they worked hard. These gifted players, a lot of talent, but they worked on the skills. They worked on the fundamentals, and they were there at 5 a.m. in the morning and stayed late at night. And then when they went to execute in game time, it was seamless, as though it was just natural. Mm-hmm. But I knew the hard work they put into it. They aligned the vision, and they operated in alignment. Mm-hmm. So those 4 steps, no matter what I've done in my life journey, the organizations I've had the privilege to lead, it has given me a framework that removes the fear, removes the unknown, so that I can navigate where we need to go for growth and health.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. First of all, I love the framework. I love the simplicity of that. I'm a big list guy, and hey, here's 4 steps, and it's so key. And you made a great point. When you see a great sports team that is so well connected, you realize it's not just about individual talent. I mean, there's been tons of teams, as you know, where they've been stacked with talent, yet they floundered. And then you've seen others where it's been the opposite. But when you bring talent together and they're all aligned under a core vision, there's trust, there's great communication, they all understand their role. That's where it's like watching a choreographed, beautiful, piece of.
It is an amazing thing.
Yeah, amazing. So I think leaders sometimes lose that, but this is outstanding, and that's turned into great results. I know, it's worth mentioning. You've done a tremendous job of growing the organization, and you talked about 2 years without a president and how that's declined, and you in 11 years have almost quadrupled the number of students at the school, which is phenomenal. That's a credit to you. That's a credit to the team you've put together and the culture that you built at the university.
Thank you. It's been an amazing journey, a great journey, and it continues. And we don't rest in many ways. We just keep creating new sigmoid curves. What's next? And how do we continue to build that map to a place we haven't been before?
I love it. Well, I know a lot of people are going to want to learn more. They're going to want to engage with you. You've got the podcast Framework Leadership. Tell us a little bit about that and what listeners gain from that.
Yeah, we interview a variety of people, different leaders, different organizations, from the world of politics, sports, ministry. I mean, any aspect. We're going to touch on it and bring a leader in that can give us great perspective in the midst of leading an organization or leading change or leading transformation, because that's what leaders do. And so that's what the podcast is all about.
Excellent. I love it. And you've written a few books. Where can people go? What's the best place for them to engage you if they want to research you or they want to get the books? What is there a central spot?
Yeah, I mean, the best place is kentingle.com. And you can find the books, you can find blog, the podcast, everything there that hopefully will be a good resource or an encouragement to you. Also, you can follow me at Kent Ingle on Twitter and at Kent_Ingle for Instagram as well.
Excellent. Terrific. Well, Kent, I appreciate you joining today. I could talk to you for an hour or several hours. There's lots to go through. Maybe we'll have you back another time. We'll go down part 2 in a deeper dive.
Would love that. Thank you for your time and the privilege to have this conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. And thanks all for joining us today. We've been here with Dr. Kent Ingle, President of Southeastern University, author, podcaster. We'll have all his info and all the links in the show notes. Be sure to check him out. And as well, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Go down below, give a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.